This week, I had the pleasure of visiting Jason Cameron. He is a TV reality DIY show host. He is also a professional landscaper and a friend. So Jason and I sat down to talk about mulch. So I wanted to share all of his insight with you, but I want to make sure that one, you subscribe, because I don't want you to miss any of Hip Chick's videos. It's all very practical, doable DIY. And also, I want to make sure that you tune in to other Pro Chat interviews. In my Home Improvement Hero Academy, I bring in professionals to speak with my students on various topics, and Jason is just one of them. But I opened it up to the public. So we are doing a live webinar on August 3rd, and if you are viewing this video after August 3rd, the link will take you to a replay of our Q&A. So make sure that you tune into that, and let's dive right in to our tips with Jason. Hey Hip Chicks, I am very lucky today that I get to hang out with this wonderful guy. This is Jason Cameron of CBS's Secret Celebrity Renovation. And I am so excited to be in Jason's yard where we're going to talk to you about mulch. What to use, where to put it, why, and your color choices.
Yes.
Take it away.
Welcome to my landscape, by the way.
Thank you.
Beth and I have known each other for a while. We've worked together for a long time. I love this woman. She's amazing. And for me, in my landscape, obviously mulch is important, and the selection of the color of mulch is important. So I chose black. Obviously, that is a pretty common one. The reason I like it is because it's a great contrast. So if you have black on the ground and then you have all of the color in the plants and the foliage, it pops. It's a really nice contrast. But there are other options, right? So you can get brown. You can get I'm sure there's other color.
Red.
Red, yes, yeah. Red. Now, one of the questions I get, Beth, a lot, and I'm sure you've gotten this, is it safe?
Yes. Can you put the dye down in your yard, and are your kids and pets safe?
Yes, and that is a great question. And what I respond with is typically, now not always, but typically when they color mulch, when it's dyed, it's done, usually if it's red, it's iron oxide. Iron oxide is basically rust, so it is safe. And with black, it's normally carbon-based. So it's like, think charcoal. Okay. And that's how they color it. But typically it's a carbon-based situation, or it's a vegetable.
Okay, so organic.
It's organic, normally organic, but it's worth checking when you get your mulch. Now, the other thing you got to think about, not just the dye, but also the type of mulch it is. In other words, what is it made out of? Now, you might assume that it's just tree bark or from trees. You can't assume that. You have to check, because what you don't want to end up with is construction debris or pallets.
Right.
Because
you could have nails in there too.
You could have nails in it. You could have treated lumber, which they don't use the dangerous stuff anymore in treated lumber, but you want to try to avoid that. So what I tell people is to look for a logo that is MSC, and what that stands for is Mulch and Soil Council. And it's MSC, it's a little circle with MSC, and what that tells you is that it's been checked and it does not contain treated lumber.
So you know it's from trees and vegetation?
More than likely from a tree source. Okay. And that's what you want, whether that's pine, whatever species that is, you want to avoid construction material. That's almost more important than the dye itself, right? Because people get caught up on dye. But it's because it could end up coming from. Let me give you an example. Okay. I've seen mulch come from pallets that were used in shipping chemicals.
Wow.
Right.
So they've saturated all the chemicals.
It's saturated all the chemicals.
Now it's in your grass.
So that's more dangerous than the dye.
Okay.
So those are really important things. So and then the other thing I get all the time is how much mulch.
Right.
Right. So
people overdo it, and then you have mold.
Yes, and then you have mold. I'm glad you said mold, because that is a common occurrence. If you go more than 3 inches, you could end up with a mold situation. If you go less than 2 inches, you don't have enough to really protect the soil. So it's rule of thumb is between 2 and 3 inches. I've got about a little over 2 inches here. And what that does is it gives you enough sun protection to keep the moist, but it doesn't prevent the water from saturating. Okay. So that's a good rule of thumb.
So over the years, you put it down from year to year, how much of it really degrades that you're building it back up too much over a few years?
Yeah, I mean, well, the two things happen. Number one, it will discolor, right? So, because all mulch will discolor. You'll get a good maybe 2 years, one season, maybe two, before it starts to turn gray. Okay. Which is pretty good. Right. But I would say you should get at least 2 seasons before you have to touch it up. Okay. But if you get to a point 4 seasons, 5 seasons down the road when it's time to replace it, get rid of it and replace it.
Okay, so you say scrape it away.
Scrape it away, give the soil a chance to
Breathe.
breathe, and then put new down.
Okay.
That's the best option. So number one is to touch it up if you need to after a season or two. The next one is to remove what you have and replace with new.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, good tips.
Fantastic. Great tips, because, you know, for me, Mulch Day is always an event at my house, and
Yeah.
all the kids are brought in, and everybody has to help. I do 8
What are
yards.
kids for?
Exactly, they're free labor. You know, we do 8 yards of mulch at my house,
Yeah.
and you do.
45 cubic yards of mulch.
That
Yeah.
is wild. And he and his wife did it all.
Yeah, we did it
So,
all. We saved $5,000, by the way, doing it ourselves, because it was $6,000 to have the landscaper do it a couple seasons ago. And I'm like, it only cost me 45 cubic yards, cost me a little over $1,000, right?
Yeah.
So I saved $5,000 doing it
Yes.
myself.
And again, he is a DIYer
Yeah.
who actually does it himself.
Yes.
So thanks, guys. We'll see you next week on Hip Chicks.